Hello.
Hey, Kiefer.
Hey, Kifu.
Hey guys.
Hello.
Sorry for being late. Um, let's start. Last week I was working on the compare to compare the performance result against that from the baseline. Uh, and I think the next step is to integrate it into the Jenkins. I'm evaluating different approaches to integrate the script into GitHub. The bottom line is to link the test result to a file to show the difference between the current the test result with the PR against the difference between the PR against the baseline. But I'm also looking at the checks API offered by GitHub, which is more flexible and more expressive. Let's put it this way. And I will get it done by the end of this week. And I think that's me.
So Kefu, so you mean the test
Yes.
result will check in the GitHub and we will keep the result in the GitHub branch?
No, I think there are two ways to represent the test result. One is a comment, as what we have currently when the git make check run. Whenever we have a result from a make check run, we have a new comment, right? Which shows that if the PR passed the make check run or not. But GitHub also offers a way. You might want to check out the PR web page, which have another tab named checks. Currently, we don't have it, but we could also leverage it to show the detailed information regarding to the test result. For example, how good it is, or the details of different metrics against the baseline result.
So the test result will come with the PR, right?
Yes, just like what we have with the make check run performed by Jenkins.
Yeah, okay, I see.
That's a go.
Actually,
by the way, I didn't get a chance to reproduce your failure, but I will do so later today.
No, it's no problem for me currently. So I have figured out how to make the thread pthread drawing works in the GDB environment. I have to manually switch the thread and just keep the single thread running. Then the subthread will stop and the pthread drawing will come back. So but it's not very normally for the other in the normal environment. So when you run in GDB, you just continue. All the thread will work operate correctly. But in my GDB environment, in our created thread, and I have to set the GDB running in single thread and switch to the single thread subthread to run, and they will hit the stop point and quit. Then the pthread drawing will come back. But if not in GDB environment, it works well. So I think it's not a problem. It's just in my GDB environment. So I can continue debug on. But it's not very convenient because I have to manually switch and run each thread several for the several times. There are many threads, several times you need to switch and run them itself. Then I can hit my breakpoint to do the debug work. So currently I'm debugging on the OP sequencer. So the OP sequencer will pass in for the reference object. They will pass in the self context, but currently it passes in the SeaStor environment self context. So still has some confliction for the macro definition. So I didn't figure out why it passed the SeaStor environment self context. So just try to fix it.
So to put it another way, without the human intervention, the thread can be joined successfully. But if you launch GDB, it needs more carefully, so it can be joined. Is that right?
Yeah. Just in the GDB environment, it block in the pthread join. It seems the subthread not triggered to run. So when I not use GDB, I just used output log, and I saw the code. That function will pass it. So the print can be print out. So it's not blocked there, but only in my GDB environment. And only for this method, we create thread and used send the code running in that thread. If it is running in the SeaStor thread, I think it's okay in GDB environment. So, but anyway, so it not in GDB environment, the code works. It can pass the pthread drawing. So I have the output to the standard screen, and it works. So I'm still working on the following debug work, and the Ceph. Sometimes some code need the Ceph context, but it transfer the we defined for the SeaStor framework Ceph. So still some mess up for the code.
Put it another way, it's not blocking you. It's just
at least it's not blocking me. Even though I need to manually switch the thread and set each thread running.
I see.
Yeah, so many threads and create and finish and create and finish.
Yeah, indeed, it's
annoying.
annoying.
To switch and hit my breakpoint. Okay.
Okay, I see.
Anyway, it can do the debug.
Sure.
Yeah. Finally, I found a way to make it run.
Glad to learn this.
That's all from me.
Thank you, Treme. Radek, how's it going?
Hello, I'm working on the RBD part of Ceph class support in Crimson. Right now, I'm focused on watch notify mechanism. I implemented some pre-requirements. Just distracted a commit from the main branch and sent a support with changes to let store non-null pointer to connection in our message, which will be necessary to handle watch notify. Also, I've implemented a counterpart with the op effects and mechanism that allows to fragment the big primary log PG object context, just to have some fine-grained state parts shared only by a particular op and its effect phase. Besides of that, some work on Brewster, but it's not a big one. Also, I'm making bookings for the SeaStor Summit there on Saturday, leaving on 6th evening or 7th morning, depending on flight. We'll stay in the Axiom Hotel.
Yes, me too.
Good, me too. So it will be at least we can have a meeting there.
Perfect.
Okay. Yesterday I sent the first PR, which was a one fixing a minor bug at a typo in SeaStor, and I'm proud of it. It was even accepted to SeaStor. Now today I hope to send a real PR to SeaStor, which is all the support for Unix domain sockets. It's ready, passed tests, and I will send it probably today. Now, I have two questions to consult, two issues to consult with you. One, should I also make it a PR into our SeaStor until, at least until we have acceptance by the SeaStor team? What do you say?
Yeah, so the usual model for this is you do something like we maintain a particular branch we are currently working off of. Any fix we have to make to SeaStor, we submit upstream, but we also submit it to our own branch. And every so often, we'll rebase our branch on theirs and remove any common commits from ours, right?
Okay.
Thus, at any point in time, we have all the relevant fixes. Because we don't necessarily want to wait for the upstream to do that kind of stuff. We don't necessarily want to be running on bleeding edge, although perhaps, I'm not sure. That's the other option, I suppose. So yes, I think you are correct.
Okay, so I will send a PR, I will create a PR to our SeaStor. It's a different way of creating the patch. They're using an email and we GitHub. I will try to do both of them. There is the issue of they might refuse the specific changes that I'm making. That might create a problem. They might refuse the general idea of supporting Unix domain sockets the way I'm doing it. But I'll deal with that if this happens. So this is one thing. Another question is a technical one regarding to the way connections are accepted. In SeaStor, when we are talking about the POSIX stack, there are two stacks. One is the real stack. Only one thread, only one core is running the real stack, which interacts with the operating system and performs the accept, the actual listen and the actual accept. And all the other cores are running the AP version of the stack, which does not interact with the system, just accepts through a common, through some queue, actually it's not exactly a queue, it's some containers, associative containers. They are accepting the connections from the main, from core 0 and handling them. Now, the problem with the way it's usually implemented is that only core 0 is distributing connections, but if core 0 is currently handling a connection, an incoming connection, there will be no distribution of new connections, even if the rest of the cores are doing nothing, are free to handle new connections. So there was some discussion, I think, a few months ago. Someone raised it in the mailing list, but I saw no real discussion of possible solutions. So what I did in this version, specifically for the accept of the listen and accept for Unix domain sockets, is I won't allow core 0 to actually handle incoming connections. It will just distribute it to the other. Assuming we have more than one core, core 0 will be left free to accept and distribute incoming connections, which is different from the way the rest of the system works. Any comments? What do you say?
What's the issue if another AP is the first approach? Do you mean that the accept will be blocked until the core 0 handled the connections? Why do you need to
So, sorry?
I think the original design is like a round robin to allow different cores to handle incoming accepted sockets, right?
It's a round
Okay.
robin in the not in the actual listening. It's yeah, in the accepting, but the round robin is not in the. If I understand correctly, and if I understand what the guys in SeaStor answered for questions, all the cores but one are running the AP version of the.
Yes.
And the AP version cannot accept. The accept is just looking at the shared container. There are two containers, conq and sockets something, which are simply, here is the list of things, of connections that were already accepted and nobody is handling them. And the other one, here is the list of connections that I accepted, but I cannot handle because I'm not core. I cannot really accept it because I'm not core 0. So you always need, if I understand correctly, you always need core 0 to actually perform the process of accepting and distributing the connection. So
what's the issue
what I'm
of
trying to
this approach?
Okay, the
Why
issue
is
is that if core 0.
Okay, please continue.
The issue is if core 0 is busy handling a specific incoming connection that might take, it's a connection, it might take time, it won't, and this is what I'm seeing in the test, it won't handle the next incoming connection, even though there are many other cores that are free to handle the new incoming connections. So this is what I'm trying to prevent in the change.
But normally, if it get chance to get scheduled of different continuation, it can get chance to accept. I think it's just it's a matter of optimization. It's not a failure, right?
Yes, I think the cores in SeaStor are not supposed to be blocking, so it's a false problem, I would say. So a good citizen in SeaStor should not hold the core 0 for a long time. Otherwise, it's considered a stalled core, a blocking core. It will be detected by reactor, and the reactor will speed a warning or something when you detect such kind of a stall.
Okay, so maybe the problem is the way my test program is set. It does handle a connection and performs this connection back and forth, a discussion. But this is, I think, the way we are. Some of the this is at least my impression was the way our admin socket connections that are using Unix domain sockets might behave. They are holding a connection and they are holding a conversation, and which means that we are holding. We are depending on the client to be on the other side of the socket connection to behave nice and not block the.
No, I think
block the core.
It depends on our behavior instead of the peer. If we are performing blocking core, it's our fault. It's a bug. It's a bug. I would say.
Yeah, core 0 should not be blocked.
Agree.
Okay, I will take an. Okay, thanks. I will take another look at it and see what I think. Okay, good. So, thank you. And yeah, I'm already bought regarding the summit. I will be at the same hotel. Bought a ticket, flight tickets yesterday. So I'll be there.
By the way, Honan, if you're doing some broken I/O, if with the FD, probably you need to look at the file interface offered by SeaStor, or some other way to talk to the FD in a non-blocking way.
That's what you mean on the, yeah, that's what I did, both from the client on the server side. Yes, of course. I copied the existing test programs and then played with it.
Okay, cool. Sam.
Nothing much to report on this week.
Yingxin.
Okay, so the first thing is the PR is under review of the failover test, and I saw a comment from you, Kefu, and the problem is I cannot reproduce the test failure from my side. I think it's strange. I have repeated like 100 times, but it always passing. So I also noticed the difference in the logs, in your logs and my logs, and maybe that causes the issue. So I need to investigate maybe with you to try to find out who is blocking. And the next is I'm working on the racing tests and setting up the block trap to block one side handshake and allow the other side to connect and race. And I'm also enumerating all possible cases to block the handshake at different steps and let the peer connections connect to each other or reconnect to each other, or one side connect and the other side reconnect, and all the possible cases. And I found out there's one issue that the acceptance of the connection and the connection lookup is not atomic in current implementation. So I introduced another connection state called establishing to address this issue, and seems the racing tests are passed. And I think I still need to add more tests to check the stored connections, because a connection may be stored and another and recovered, and find this connection is stored, and need to make sure this test passed. So totally three major kinds of tests. And I think after these three kinds I implemented, most of the cases can be covered. That's all from me.
Is a PR you're working on can be merged before you resolve three of these racings?
Sorry?
I need to wait. I'm asking you if I can get the PR you're working on, get it merged before you resolve the three cases you're trying to address.
I think I can submit it one by one.
Okay.
It can be reviewed one by one. So first the failover test, then the then the racing test, and then the store tests. And
cool.
Yeah, this is working branch. Okay.
By the way, I would suggest to use the run CBT and the compact split to test the performance before and after we submit we create a PR. I will amend the crimson.rst to document the approach we test the performance of the crimson PR before we have the check integration ready. Please go on.
One issue is that if the tests are compiled like the unit test, I also added some traps that may impact the performance, I think.
But
So
I believe
if
your changes are guarded by the if defined
unit tests.
test. Yes, that sort of thing. So
So
it
so
should be
I would suggest
no.
if you are evaluating performance, the unit test should be turned off.
I agree.
The
Yes,
compile
sure.
option of yeah.
Yes, that's a good point. I will put a note into the document. Thank you. Any questions, guys?
No question, but just a quick note in the matter of handling accept in SeaStar. Actually, there is a possibility to also issue accept directly from to the operating system directly from all cores. It's the choice is made basing on the POSIX reuse detect of sister reactor. However, it's turned off by default with following comment. It always returns false, which boils down into the logic that only shard 0, that core 0, is going to kernel for accepting and filling the connection queue for other shards, for distributing those incoming connections.
Yes, I think
Yes,
we
and
discussed it
reuse
before.
port. Yeah, a reuse port is not applicable to my cases, as far as I know. And
It's not
Okay, I see.
applicable for which?
for Unix domain.
Okay.
But even if it will be, likely it will be also broken. Just take a look on the comment on the case of TCP. Leads to
the
heavily low.
Yeah, and I think there are even worse problems. At least this is what I understood from a discussion in the SeaStar mailing list about it some months ago. I won't try to do this. I prefer to do the way they run most of the code now, which is accepting only in the core 0.
Yeah, I don't think the Unix domain is the critical path. We only transfer the commands using the source domain instead of the actually serving the IOPS using source domain. So I don't think it's an issue for us.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, see you next week. Have a good night.
See you.
Good night. See you.
See you. Bye.
Good night.
See you.
Bye.